Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast, the show that provides a platform for self-made entrepreneurs to share their stories on how they got where they are today. If you're a budding entrepreneur or a business owner looking for further inspiration, education, or motivation, then look no further. This is the show for you. And now, let's get started with your host, Zach Duggar.
Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, we all have money, we all earn money, or we need money to buy things. But there are also things that we need to learn about money to help us not make the mistakes that are commonly made across all people. Now, my guest today, we're going to talk a little bit about that topic, but we're going to talk a little bit about her journey in personal finance and helping others to have freedom through their personal finance. So Patricia, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I'd like to just start by asking you, what made you decide to go into the career of personal finance?
Well, it wasn't something that I actively was pursuing. Okay. I remember sitting at a huge conference table in the middle of my divorce. And on this particular day, we were dividing assets, and we divided, just furniture and things like that. And then we got to investments. And as I was sitting there and I looked at the page, I could see that there wasn't very much on that page. In fact, as I looked at the bottom line there, it was actually less than I had put in myself. I was my husband and I, we were big savers. And so I was expecting when I walked out of there that day that I was going to have a nice pot of money to really start my new life. And as I looked at that, I became very, very upset because the number was very, very low. And I kept asking questions about, is this a typo? Is there another page? Is there something missing? I was just getting very, very frustrated as time went on. And they said, no, this is exactly what it is. And as I sat there, I suddenly realized that the one thing that I hadn't done in all of my years of marriage was to pay any attention to our money. I let my husband really manage that part of it. I never questioned anything that he did or said. I just added to it each month when I got my check. And so it was so shocking to me at that point that I actually did walk out of the I just walked out. They said, let's take a break. And I just walked out the door, got in my car and drove away. I was like, yeah. I cannot deal with this. So after some thought, I really realized that, number one, this is something that happened because I wasn't paying attention to anything. And one of the reasons that I didn't pay attention to anything is because I didn't know what to do. And I guess at that point, I was kind of ashamed that I didn't understand how to manage money or anything like that. And I really thought about my current situation and the fact that if I didn't do something at that point, I could find myself in the same position years down the road. So my thought was, and somebody has asked me, how did you get to this thought? My thought was that I would become a financial advisor because I was thinking that no one is going to let me manage money for other people if they don't teach me how to do it. And so that was sort of my thought. And I thought that I would do that for a while. I would learn how to manage my money. And then I would go back to being a business consultant, which is what I was before. Okay. And that was like over 20 years ago. So I stayed there because honestly, even today, I see so many people in the same position that I was in because they don't know how to manage their money. And so I'm on a quest really to educate as many people as possible about how to manage your money because it's not rocket science. It's really not.
Sure. Yeah. No, I was going to say, I like that story, but in a sense, it's difficult because that was your personal assets, your personal finance, and it's a very personal story that you had to come up in a situation that was already stressful. And then to realize that you did not know what was occurring and what had occurred with those monies that you had been putting away with your husband, that really drove you, well, it drove you out of the room, but also
Literally.
right, that drove you into another area of your profession, which combined with that business consulting, you continue to work towards the teaching and support of others and what you're doing. Now, you have worked professionally for other companies, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you've also ventured off and done your own work. And I think that's where you're at now, is also splitting off and doing your own work. Now, as far as that goes, when did you decide that you wanted to venture off to do your own consulting and do your own work in this field? And how did that go? Some of the ups and downs that we've experienced over the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a lot of ups and downs because it's difficult running a business. It really is. And I was very good at, I worked for a Big Five accounting firm. And so I was going into really large businesses and helping them manage. But starting your own business is a whole different story. So I've been in and out of, I knew from the start, though, that I wanted my own business. I realized I was at some point that I was really not employable, in that I really knew how I wanted to run things, and I didn't like other people telling me how to run things. So I started my business and a few years back, and then my mother became very ill. So I took some time off to take care of her. And then I decided, well, I'll go back and start my business again. And then COVID hit, and it was like, I literally got my licenses and things together in February, and then in March, COVID. And so it was like, I couldn't get it off the ground. So I decided to go and work for another company, which I did. And I did that until really the end of last year. And I decided I've had enough. I'm going back. And so I restarted my business the beginning of this year, and have been working on that ever since. It is such, I don't know. I talked to a friend yesterday, and she said, you sound so good. And I'm like, yes. I mean, it's like, there's a difference when it's yours and when you have to really work for someone else and do things their way. So I'm enjoying this at this time, even if COVID hits again. I think I'm ready to withstand that.
Right. Right. I mean, and what you said about being unemployable, because you identified that you wanted to do things certain ways, and it really kept weighing on you to that point where, I got to go do my thing. Yeah. And then something in life happened. So you had to make a decision to take some time away, and then you came back to it. And then, of course, something unexpected happened with the pandemic, but you're still in that mindset of, I got to do my own thing. And you also observed, their friend observed, there's something different about you. Very clear that joy, when you find that spot where you feel like you are connected with the work that you're doing the way you want to do it, it is definitely a different feeling.
Absolutely.
So now you're working independently, got your business going again, you're working on building that back up, and to continue to be able to have further reach into others and other lives. Now, one of the ways that you're doing that is that you also have done some writing, and I would love to hear about your book, and also just kind of what your goal is with that, as far as what do you want people to get out of the book that you've written.
Well, my latest book, and I have several. My latest book is Money Wise, Become a Money Wise Woman in 6 Simple Steps. The one thing that I have realized is that women are behind the 8 ball, in a sense. There is a real wealth gap in this country. And part of it is due to the lack of education that we don't receive, I guess I should say. Still, money management is not taught in most of the schools. And it's also something, even in, someone was asking me the other day, well, didn't you get that in grad school? And it's like, no, I didn't get that in grad school either. So it's not something that's taught anywhere. So I always tell people not to feel guilty about not knowing something that you were never taught. I mean, you can't, if you've never taught it, there's no reason to feel guilt or shame around that. And so part of my thing is really to start this movement with women where they do have a safe place where they can come and ask questions and really just get information about how to make better moves in terms of managing their money. And I'm especially excited about working with women business owners because, as you know, we manage what we do in one side, we do in all sides. So if they're not managing their personal money, probably not managing their business money as well either. So that's one of the things that I'm really focusing on and really looking to have some type of a group or organization that I can work through to actually get the word out more.
Yes, absolutely. And to be able to help people that are looking for a source or don't even know where to look, to help them find a source of information and someone that they can trust who has been through some challenges themselves and can then continue to lead by example, but also by education and direct and support others through that process, both personally and on the business side. I think you're absolutely right with regards to people who are already experiencing difficulties with their personal finances are not likely to have much better experience with their business finances. So having that support, helping them create the plan to be able to proceed with purpose, but also purposefully and with the intelligence of somebody that can help with that direction and leadership. So, and I know you had told me before that this isn't the only book you've written. So how many books have you written at this point?
I think I've got about 5.
Wow.
Okay. No, it is. I've got Minding Your Money, which was really the first one. This is sort of like the hidden manual, I call it, for people that really want to understand basic finances. I've also got the How to Get Divorced Without Losing Your Blouse. And this sort of goes through my divorce story. This was how I channeled and got really over that. And then the last one is really the Profit Handbook, which really is for business owners on really how to really manage the money side of your business. So I've really I like to write and really just trying to get a variety of topics that would work really well for business owners and for women specifically as well. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about mistakes that people commonly make with money. Let's just hit on a few of those that you've seen and you observe, and you also help people work through the process of undoing those mistakes.
Well, the first mistake that I think people make is that they just ignore the money. They just ignore it. It's like they don't know what's coming in, what's going out, where it's going. They have no idea. And so they're making spending decisions and purchasing decisions as well as saving decisions and not understanding how that fits in. So that's probably the biggest one, is really just ignoring it and not doing that one thing that everybody dislikes so much, which is having a budget. And so, we try to sweeten the pot a little bit there and call it a spending plan. But at the end of the day, it's a budget, and it's not a, I have this thing where I say, budgets are not sexy, but they're one of the most powerful tools that you can have in your toolbox. So,
Yep. That's a good foundational point there, that having a budget allows you to then have more intelligent decision-making power. So having that tool in your toolbox, whether personally, business, both really are essential for success.
Yeah.
What's another mistake that you see people make?
Well, this one is it's not having a plan. Not knowing where you're going, which includes goals and things like that. It is, I often tell the story of no one would really think about going on a vacation without having a plan. You got to know where you're going, how you're going to get there, where you're going to stay, what it's going to cost you, how you're going to get home. You need all those, you put all those things together when you're going on a trip. Well, you need to really start to think of your life as a trip. It is the ultimate trip. And if you don't know where you're going and how you're going to get there and what kinds of things you want to do, then you're just left to the whim of what happens. And we do have the ability to control a lot of our destiny, but we have to take those first steps and create that plan to make sure that we know where we're going, why we're going there, and if the things that we're doing make sense, or if we need to change. I always say, once you really make a decision about where you want to go and what you want to do, then decision making becomes pretty easy, because something either fits with your plan or it doesn't. And so you can make that decision pretty quickly. It's either going to move me in the direction I want to go, or it's going to take me away, or it's going to have no effect. And you can really work that out pretty quickly.
Yeah. You need to have a good foundation in order to make it work. And it's like building a house without plans. It's really not going to be as effective as if you have a solid set of plans and create that foundation on which the rest of the house is built. So
absolutely.
Now, if you have somebody that comes to you and says, I've been thinking about starting a business, what would be one tip that you would give them as they're getting started with a new business?
As they're getting started with a new business, and I know this is it's kind of everybody wants to just jump in. I've got this great idea, and so if I just this is all I need to do is this and this, and so I tell them back up for just a minute, just back up for a second and really think this thing through, because there's a lot of pieces that go into starting a business, and believe me, I know the pieces. I've been there. So it's really stepping back and really creating that plan. It's like, what am I going to do? Who's on first, and then the other pieces that need to come in there. There's so many parts to starting a business, and it's not just having a great idea. A lot of people believe that if I have a great idea and I do good customer service, then, everything is going to be okay. Well, that's not the whole story. There's a whole business side to the business that you really need to be aware of and managing that money inside of the business, and making sure that your idea is an idea that's going to generate a profit that is big enough for this to be motivating for you. There are tons of great ideas out there, but they're not all profit-making ideas. And so you really need to do your research to make sure that the business that you're starting is going to support you in the lifestyle that you want it to from the start. Otherwise, you're wasting your time there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's solid advice right there. Now, do you primarily work in short-term consultation, or do you work with businesses and individuals for longer term? What is the kind of that target objective for you, or is it kind of a mixture? How does that work?
Well, it really is a mixture. I have an hourly rate, so that people can come and just ask me a question or two or whatever they want, and just pay by the hour. I also work with clients on a project basis. So if you're starting a business, or if you really just want to get your financial life in order, then we put together a project and work on that. And then I have some clients who want to be with me, have me like on a retainer, almost like an attorney, so that we put a plan together. And then once every 6 months or so, we check in and see how they're doing and things like that. So I like having the flexibility of, it's not one size fits all. You have the ability to come and get as much information or as little as you want. And one of the things that I do is I do not sell or manage investments or insurance products. So I'm not really trying to sell you anything along those lines. It's really just the advice and getting you off to a good start.
Yeah, making that foundation work. And I know from my own experience, I did not have a background in finance, and starting a business and operating a business, things change over time. And so having consultation throughout that time is also beneficial. But there are many businesses that aren't big enough to have the support of someone full time.
Right.
So it sounds like having that ability to call someone like yourself on a part-time basis, consultation basis, project basis would absolutely be invaluable to someone who is in need of that support, which frankly, I think everyone needs that level of support if they don't have much experience with personal finance or haven't taken that time to really dig into it themselves.
Absolutely.
Now, I
So,
have one additional question I like to ask all of my guests. If you were to be handed $1 million today, how would you invest that in your business or another endeavor, and why?
wow, $1 million. Okay. So the first thing I would probably do is invest in some other businesses. I
Hmm.
think that is so important to support a community of businesses. So
Okay.
I would put some money into that. I would
Hmm.
also look at getting into real estate because I think that is a
Yeah.
really good investment as well. It's one that would work well for the business as well as, there's so many possibilities inside of there, especially if it's something that's going to be an income producing
Yeah.
real estate. And I would also have set up an emergency fund, a really nice emergency fund for my business, so that if anything ever happened, and I think that's something that a lot of business owners got caught when COVID
Hmm.
came, they didn't have that emergency fund. So I'd have a nice emergency fund, and then I would have sort of like just a cash reserve that I could use to grow the business. So it's really thinking about, do I need to hire somebody else to, the other things that I
Hmm.
might do to do that. So I would, it sounds like a huge amount of money, but I think I could get rid of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. It definitely goes a lot more quickly than we realize.
Yeah,
It probably doesn't spend as far as it used to either. But
yeah, no.
well, well, if someone wants to reach out to you, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Okay. They can always go to my website, which is psworth.com.
Okay.
And or I have a free gift that they can, if somebody wants to really learn more about me and just get some good ideas, and they can go to
Hmm.
psmoney360.com, and they can go there and download a free gift that's all about habits and things to really begin to grow your money. So
Perfect.
that's what I have available.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Patricia Stallworth, and your time today. So I would definitely encourage people to check out, you get that free gift, PS Money 360.
Yes,
Did I say that
PS
right?
Money 360.
PSMoney360.com.
Yes.
And just check out the work that she's doing. I think it's great. And also to just take that experience that you've had and then put it into formats that other people can absolutely digest that and obtain that information through the books that you've written, the work you're doing now, and empowering women also through the financial education and support you're providing, the book that you've written purposefully for that as well. I'm excited to hear what you have next in store for you in this upcoming future. So thank you again for your time, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it. Thank you a lot.
Absolutely.